Now, what I am proposing to do is take a passage again from the Book of Yoga itself, the last canto of the Book of Yoga, seventh canto. And in the first edition of Savitri, the title of that canto is not there. But then it is there somewhere in the manuscript, which is later on inserted, you see. Now, the background of this canto is of course connected with what we have in the sixth canto. This is canto number 7. In the sixth canto, Savitri is told to annul herself totally, annul herself totally, so that only God be. That only God be. Nothing of her, nothing, absolutely nothing. That only what is present is God alone. See. Now that is what Sri Aurobindo calls as nirvana. To annul yourself, to blow yourself out fully. Nirvana, blow yourself out fully. That is nirvana. Nirvana. See? 128.1. Now he defines the term nirvana in the title itself. The discovery of the all negating absolute. That is what Savitri is going to do. All negating absolute. Nothing is there. This existence, no inconscience, no void, no God, no self, no person, no creation, nothing, nothing, nothing. Only the absolute, supreme absolute alone. That is what is nirvana. When Savitri has, in that sense, fully emptied herself out, that nothing of her remains, then she is ready to receive what God is to give to her. Nothing will come from her to intervene, to interfere, to cause problems, so to say, in the work of God. She has to abolish herself fully, annul herself completely. See. Now, this is a very major experience, and here is the true sense of the Buddhist nirvana. What is exactly meant by nirvana? Blowing yourself out, all that is of inconscience, not only in you, but in the cosmic manifestation affecting you. That has to disappear completely. So, what remains then is only God, the Absolute, alone, alone, alone. When you are a totally empty cup, then the true divine presence, true divine power, true divine light can work in you. Otherwise, it can get mixed up with all the things rising from below, from outside, you see. There is a very beautiful incident in the early life of Sri Aurobindo. Maybe in the beginning of his coming to Pondicherry, 1912, 13, something like that, there used to be a Tamil yogi. He was living like a beggar, absolutely nothing of his own. And his whole occupation was, so to say, he used to come to the ashram, be there in front. At that time, Sri Aurobindo was staying in the guest house, opposite to the PD office, in the guest house. So he would be there, stay there for some time. He would not go upstairs and see Sri Aurobindo. He would stay there some time and all that. And then from here, go to Ramana Maharshi's ashram. Walk to Ramana Maharshi's ashram. Stay there for some time. Come again to Pondicherry. So he was going back and forth constantly like that, you see. On one occasion, he simply climbed up the staircase where Shaibandu was staying, went to his table there, without any permission, and just walked up like that. Just walked up like that. And he saw a cup of tea full on his table. He took that cup, emptied out, just poured it out completely. He just poured out that tea. Wherever, so he just poured it out that tea, kept that cup like that, and went away without talking, without mentioning anything, nothing, nothing. Yes, of course, all in his presence, all in his presence, all in his presence. Then he walked away, and then again he would come and go and come and go like that, you see. And later on, somebody asked him, "What is this? Why this man or whosoever he is doing like that?" Then Shaibandu said that he has given me something very remarkable, something which was necessary for my sadhana. I had to empty out myself fully. I had to empty out. That is the hint suggestion he gave me by his action there. And then he walked away like that. Is there. So, see, it is like that. Now, this experience of Savitri is very essential for her work. Her work basically in the context of the mission she has to carry out. Her mission is first to conquer death. Death is standing in the way of divine manifestation. Now, death is a cosmic power. To conquer that, Savitri has to be something more than that cosmic power. She has to fully empty herself out so that only God's presence remains there. Only that God's presence, that Shakti is there, which will be able to conquer death. You see, not by her force, it is God's Shakti which is established in her. It is that alone which can conquer death. And in order that that happens, nothing of human Savitri, of cosmic Savitri, of any other Savitri should remain in her. It is only God's force which should work. It is only God's force which should work. So that is the nirvana. Annul thyself that only God be. That is the instruction Savitri gets. And Savitri takes up her yoga along those lines, and she attains what he calls formless liberation. Beyond form, she attains formless liberation, and her body is like a wandering shell in the sky. Nothing. Now, it is with that nirvana, with that emptying herself out, that is why nirvana means blow out. She has really blown out all that is inconscient in her. It has to go away. She has to become another kind of a void. She has become that void. The cup is fully emptied out, you see. And she can now move forward, you see. So, with that nirvana, with that experience, with that realization rather, not just experience, realization, Savitri has moved tremendously in a sadhana. See, Savitri had already discovered her soul. Savitri has already discovered her soul. in the previous canto, Canto 5, not only discovered her soul, but also the divine power has got established in her soul. The divine power, the divine Shakti, Mahasavitri, is already now present in her soul. Still, that is not sufficient to conquer death. Soul, all right, all right, all right. But what about the nature? You are not only soul, you are also mental, physical, vital, all those things are there. What about nature? They should not come in the way of her work. And therefore, she has to empty out all those things. So, the discovery of the soul is not sufficient. Along with that, should also happen this emptying out of all that is inconscient in you. Then only the divine work begins. The divine manifestation then only starts from that point onward. So Savitri has now reached in her yoga that particular stage. But there is a little danger also. The danger is in a way very crucial, very significant. Savitri is no more Savitri now. She has completely now given up to the divine, which would mean that Savitri could get totally lost into the absolute. She would totally get lost into the absolute and forget about earth, about this creation, about all the problems, etc., etc. No more there now, because she has now gone totally out of that thing. So Savitri could have, so to say, totally vanished into the divine, into the absolute, and there would not be any more Savitri at all, and the mission of her life, of her avatarhood, would remain unaccomplished. If she disappears like that, that is the Laya. Savitri has merged into the divine, no more Savitri then. That is the Laya, and that should not happen. You have to empty out, yet at the same time, you have to hold yourself back for the purpose of this creation. You have to hold yourself back for the purpose of this creation. And it is that stage now what we have in this last canto of the Book of Yoga, 131.1. In the little hermitage, in the forest heart, in the sunlight and the moonlight and the dark, daily human life went plodding on, even as before, with a small unchanging works and its spare outward body of routine and happy quiet of ascetic peace. Now, Savitri has that tremendous spiritual experience and realization of nirvana, of emptying out. But what happens outside? Savitri is there in the forest, she is there in the hermitage there, and the daily life of the whole world is going on as usual. And that context of the daily life now becomes pertinent for Savitri. See, look, we have gone there, but what about this thing? What about the daily life? In the little hermitage, in the forest heart, where the hermitage is placed, in the sunlight and the moonlight and the dark, the daily human life went plodding on. That has to be attended to. That is important. The old beauty smiled of the terrestrial scene. She too was her old gracious self to men. Savitri had that formless liberation, but still for people all around, she is that beautiful Savitri, that gracious Savitri, that Krupamaya, who will bestow happiness and blessings on everybody, that grace, she is still there, and the daily work goes on. Beauty smile on the terrestrial scene. Yes, there is something wonderful around here. What about that? You see, the ancient mother her child to her breast. As far as Savitri is concerned, she had lost totally into the absolute because she is no more there now. She was told to totally annul herself. She is no more there now. But the ancient mother cannot allow Savitri to disappear like that. The mother nature, the nature of earth which has brought up the evolution to this point, the mother of evolution which has brought the whole process up to this point, that mother cannot allow Savitri to disappear. Cannot allow Savitri to disappear. She is needed. She has to be present here. So the ancient mother clutched her child back to her breast. No, Savitri, you cannot go. Come back, come back, come back. You have something to do here. Pressing her close in her environing arms. That is why this whole beauty, this whole life, this hermitage, you see, they are calling her back, you see, to Savitri. As if earth ever the same could forever keep the living spirit and body in her class. Savitri, as if you could get back like that. As if death were not there, not end, not change. So the ancient mother would not allow Savitri because there's no death now, nothing is there. She has to be here. She cannot disappear like that, you see. Accustomed only to read. So that is the condition in which Savitri is. The ancient mother is not allowing Savitri to disappear that way, you see. Cannot, you see. The force of evolution, the mother of evolution, cannot afford, so to say, to lose Savitri. The Savitri can go and disappear like that. She is needed. She has to carry on the work here. So she kind of gets stirred up. She becomes alert to see that Savitri does not disappear. To all she was the same perfect Savitri. So to the rishis, to the trees, to the forest, to the animals, to household people, everybody, they all see the same Savitri, perfect Savitri. She has been all along perfect, but now she has become more perfect. Perfect Savitri has become more perfect because there is nothing now of her. It is the divine presence which is there in her everywhere. In every aspect of her, it is the divine. And that is why she has become now more perfect. To all, to the rishis, to people, everybody, was the same perfect Savitri. A greatness and a sweetness and a light poured out from her upon her little world. She is not that she is doing it, it happens spontaneously. The way the sun pours its light by itself, by its very presence, in the same manner, Savitri's presence, physical presence itself, it is that from which flow greatness and sweetness and light constantly. She has become the sun of all these qualities.